So welcome everybody to another Savvy Resource webinar. My name is Adrienne and I am your host for today. I am the president of the board of directors for the Strategic Alliance for Veteran Integration. We are a California-based nonprofit organization that serves nationwide, and we work with transitioning military members that are 1 year pre-separation to 1 year post-separation with a free 12-month program focused on federal benefits education and customization of resources to help support your primary goal, whether you're going after entrepreneurship, retirement, employment, or education. We are here to get you the benefits that you deserve. I am so excited for today's presentation. We have a wonderful presenter, Miss Peg, who is going to tell you all about her amazing organization, Heroic Gardens, but more importantly, we're going to get savvy with growing well in the garden. So anybody that's joining us live, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to encourage you to use the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. Go ahead and plug in any questions that you may have that we will get to at the end. And if you are watching this on replay, go ahead and use the comments box below. We will go ahead and follow up with all questions and we'll tag you to make sure that you get your response. And again, we definitely encourage you to share this with your friends, family members, and of course, fellow transitioning military members that can definitely benefit and utilize this information. And without further ado, Peg, we would love to hear from you, and go ahead and start your presentation.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to be with you. I'm so happy to share my passion, which is horticulture, plants, and everything about them and how they can help us in terms of our own well-being. I am what you call a horticulturist. So I think I'm going to advance a slide here. Oh, here I am. Oh, that's me. So I work with a veterans group called Heroic Gardens, which is what's on my t-shirt here. And we are right outside of the city of Philadelphia, physically located there, although we do outreach virtually to many other potential subscribers. We do gardening projects for vets here in what we call the Delaware Valley. We do landscape projects at their homes. We also do what we call horticultural therapy sessions, or I do it with the vets at various locations. So that is me. And let's see what else we have here. Oh, here we go. Here's another slide. We're going to talk today about horticulture as a healing tool. So let's get some definitions. I'm a college professor, so I like definitions, just so we're all on the same page, okay? So horticulture, what is horticulture? Well, there's kind of two words in that one word of horticulture. Hortus means plants, and culture obviously means culturing or cultivating or taking care of something. So we're taking care of plants. It's a little different from agriculture because we're not plowing, 25,000 acres and planting corn. We're dealing with plants that we can have either inside the house or right outside the house, maybe on a patio, maybe in a small yard. And horticulture would encompass trees, shrubs, the herbaceous plants, and annuals, perennials, and inside we'd be talking about house plants. House plants are usually plants that need to come into the house in the winter. Here in Philadelphia, of course, we get below 32 degrees and everything outside would freeze to death if you left it out there. So we have to bring plants inside or have plants that are from tropical areas that would be normally just house plants all year round. As a horticultural therapist, then, what do I do? Well, again, horticulture is the art and science of gardening, and therapist means healer. So what we're trying to do is utilize plants and nature-based activities as a healing tool. Okay, does that sound good? So let's see what we're healing, okay? Let's flip this. There we go. In horticultural therapy settings, we do have goals, and this is so good for most all of us, and we found, especially the veteran population, that if we can reduce stress, reduce or release anxiety, raise self-esteem, trying to overcome depression, and have other issues like aggression, illness, behavioral issues, we can utilize horticulture to meet some of those goals. It will also increase positive behaviors, because you're going to feel great working with plants. Come on, these are my babies. It's a nurturing, wonderful world to be in, this world of plants and nature. Okay? So let's talk about what the physical, mental, and emotional needs of human beings are. I like to get, again, I'm a professor, so I like to get real basic so that we all are on the same page, understanding what we're talking about. Okay, so as human beings, from the get-go, we obviously need food, we need shelter, and what I call a tribe, which is our community. Now, our community or our tribe is our family and our associates, colleagues, folks that we work with, that kind of thing. In other words, all of that community is what is supporting us, okay? And obviously we need food and shelter to survive. And the earliest of mankind and womankind, of course, needed to have a community to protect themselves from wild beasts and from other barbarians, that kind of thing. In today's culture, we still need, of course, food and shelter, but we still need that community, because we need support in so many ways. So to be alone is usually not a good place to be. So let's see what we can do moving on here. Let's talk about well-being. So our community is our support system, family, friends, and in your case, with being veterans, the people you served with. The other indicator of well-being, along with community support, is a sense of purpose. If you have those two elements, community and a sense of purpose, that is a predictor of being satisfied and having well-being. Well-being, of course, would include our physical, mental, psychological, emotional, spiritual selves. So let's move on and see if we can figure out how to do this. Okay. Now we have this slide here, which I have given a lot of thought to. The looking inward and looking outward in the realm of self-care. So let's look outward for a minute. We're looking outward, and we obviously have needs, such as, I think we probably all know about nutrition. You should eat a balanced diet. You should not eat junk food to any great extent, right? You should go to your doctor's appointments and your dentist appointments, and you should take care of yourself in those ways, right? I think we sort of all know that, but how can we achieve that? How can we move forward to break out some of those, for instance, addictions that we have, and a sense of, I'm so worthless, I don't have to go to the doctor, and I don't have any money, so I don't have to eat good food. I can't afford to eat good food. I'll just eat junk food because it's cheap. Well, let's turn that around for a second. Let's look inward and let's think about self-care. inward. If you were looking in the mirror and you were all alone in your bedroom and you were looking in a mirror, what do you see? What do you see? Are you wearing a coat that is made up and the threads of the coat are made up of anger and hate and aggression and poor habits and addictions? Is that the coat you're wearing? Is that who you are? Look at yourself. Is that who you are? And maybe for a moment, you'd like to take that coat off and hang it in the closet and close that closet door. And now look at yourself again in the mirror and put on a new coat. And maybe on the sleeve of the coat is kindness. And maybe on the other sleeve of the coat is a non-judgmental attitude. And maybe on the lapel of the coat, you can find your sense of purpose by serving others. And maybe in the center of the coat, you can find love. And maybe just for today, you could wear that coat. That is self-care, my friends. That is self-care. That is mindfulness. That is paying attention. That is the way out of all the darkness. Try wearing that coat for today. Enhancements to growing well. Let's talk about the healing power of nature. Our friend Henry David Thoreau said nature is but another form of health. And I like to think of it as not everything needs to be treated with a pill. We people have a relationship with plants. It's a relationship. It's a relationship with nature, okay? We are, in fact, connected. If you would just go outside, you would feel differently. We're connected with nature. We evolved with nature over millennium. And we are just as much as a part of nature as those trees and those little squirrels running around and the birds flying and that kind of thing. We're just another form. We are just we're just a part. And we don't necessarily have dominion over all of this, but we should certainly conserve and respect nature. The relationship with nature works because guess what? It's non-judgmental. The plants are not judging you. We should culture them. We should take care of them. And I think if you've ever gone into a lovely wooded area or a beautiful park or an arboretum or even a greenhouse, you immediately have an experience, a personal and emotional response to being in that natural setting, to being with those plants, to being in some place where the air seems fresher, because it is. The plants are helping to filter out toxins in the air. So that there are a little air conditioning system. if you walk through a grove of trees, I'll tell you something you may not know. Those trees are actually throwing out chemicals from their leaves that help us by providing the natural killer cells that enhance our immune system. You would be healthier if you walk through a grove of trees. We also know that walking through nature calms us down from our stress level. And I also like to think that having a connection with nature is also connecting with the universal life force. And that gives us the opportunity to grow and mature spiritually. Now, we all know we should eat healthy. We all know other things we should do to enhance our health. And you should also think about having your connection with nature. And that can just be going into your backyard. It could just be having a room full of houseplants. It could just be going to a lake and going fishing, or rowing a kayak, or taking a hike up a trail, or walking around a college campus. They're usually pretty big and they have a lot of trees, and often they are arboretums themselves. So get out there, unplug, get outside. It's life enhancing, it's life affirming, and it is a personal response that you will have, I guarantee you. Let's see if we can go to the next slide. So this slide says, let's talk about stress. And our stress is a response to events or environmental features that are challenging, demanding, threatening to our personal well-being, and has significant suppressive effects on our immune system. Now, I understand and respect and certainly get that you veterans have had challenging, demanding, and even life-threatening experiences in service to your country. And I applaud you for that. I think of you as the brave ones because you accepted that. You put your hand up and said, yes, I will go, I will serve. I am strong enough to do this. I will not look away. But stress is something that our body holds on to, even after the event that may have been challenging, demanding, threatening. Our body tends to hold on to that. And has significant effects, again, on our immune systems. Now, our immune system is what's keeping us alive. We want to enhance our immune system by all means. Again, eating well, not taking risky behaviors. You're adults, you know not to do that. And enhancing our immune system by connecting with nature, which is, again, non-judgmental and a beautiful and supportive thing to do. And that's what I do as a horticultural therapist. I try to connect plants and nature to my people. Okay, so let's move on here. Okay, so how can nature help you? Well, nature basically is a peaceful environment. Go out, take a walk around big trees, touch big trees, walk up to them. They would love to have you touch them. They like the attention too, sure, I think. But you will be enhanced with your reduction of stress. You could have your little vegetable garden or a flower garden or rose garden outside if you have a little space at your home. Again, you could take a walk, obviously, in a park, a forest, an arboretum, that kind of venue. And what we have done also with my organization, Heroic Gardens, we have vets growing plants indoors on a windowsill, because we also appreciate the fact that many people live in apartments and they don't have a backyard to go do gardening in, or a front yard. And they may very well not be physically able to get out and go for, a hike or that kind of thing. So we have projects where we do windowsill gardening. And the windowsill gardening can be done with small herbs, small vegetable plants, like radishes, that kind of thing. And then, of course, the whole range of house plants can improve the beauty of your home, as far as I'm concerned. They do remove toxins from the air, even the houseplants inside. A lot of research was done by NASA a number of years ago, because NASA had a problem. They were sending people up in spacecraft, and those poor people had to stay in there, or the different space stations, for numerous days, weeks, and months, right? With recycled air. So NASA did a lot of research into houseplants and how they can clean the air that people had to breathe in those enclosed environments. Well, we live in houses and we live in apartments, and guess what? In the winter, when it's cold, at least in Philadelphia, it does get cold, and we close the windows and we close the doors and we put on the heater, and now we're in an enclosed environment again. And it can be dusty, and toxins can be flying around in the air from furniture and rugs and cooking and that kind of thing. So houseplants can help scrub the air to a great extent, but they also aesthetically look great. And again, it's something to take care of, and they're not judging you, and I hope you don't judge them. So it's a non-judgmental relationship with a living thing. Not as much responsibility as having a pet, but you do have to, of course, put the houseplant in some kind of light situation and understand what their parameters are there. And also, of course, water it maybe once a week, maybe once a month, depending on the plant. But it's something to have a relationship with. And you know what? Plants bring beauty, they bring peace to your environment. You create that with the plants that you surround yourself with. Okay? Let me see what else we have here. So again, the basic subject matter here is well-being. And what I've tried to emphasize, of course, is that gardening is a relationship. It's a non-judgmental relationship, unlike working with people. And gardening reduces stress, which is our biggest killer, if you will, of our immune system. And we're trying to be well. We're trying to be well in all those ways that we know to do. So I encourage you to bring plants into your life, bring plants into your home. Maybe you'd like to grow some herbs and let them enhance your cooking, for instance. They add something to your life, believe me. And I would just like you to think, okay, well, I'll give it a shot. Maybe I'll go down to the store. Maybe I'll go to Home Depot and buy me a houseplant. Maybe if you can grow them in your area, you can grow certain vegetables or at least herbs, and you can touch them and taste them, smell them, and notice. Again, be mindful of what's happening when you are in this relationship with this plant. Feel what is going on inside. Quiet the mind and pay attention to what's going on inside. And it's going to be good stuff. I think that is our last slide. Let me just, yeah.
That's it. Perfect. Thank you so much, Peg. And we actually have a couple of questions that came in for you. So
Great.
let's go ahead and address that.
Perfect.
Just see here. So question number one is, how can people get started with your organization? And I'd love for you to just add on a little bit as to what it is that you guys actually offer and who is eligible for your program.
Right. Okay. So the name of the program is heroicgardens.org is the website, heroicgardens.org. We are a nonprofit organization and we serve veterans in our immediate area, which is here right outside of Philadelphia. But also we can serve virtually by doing projects over what we've learned is the internet, especially in the age of COVID last year. We started doing our programming virtually by sending the needed supplies, pots, soil, seeds, and distributing them out to our vets. And then I would get on a Zoom call and show them, what to do, how to do it. And that was really cool. So we're serving veterans, and now we can actually do it all over the country. There is absolutely no cost for what we do. We are a nonprofit, meaning we don't charge anything for our services. And again, if you go to the website, you can learn more and sign up and connect with, the information that you need by going to heroicgardens.org. Just Google that and all our shiny, happy faces will come up. And we would be more than happy to answer your questions and get you into some kind of programming, no matter where you live at this point. So I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. The next question that I have is it difficult to learn gardening? I know you mentioned, care for plants can be a little bit different. So how tough is it to get started?
Well, I'm prejudiced because this is my world. And I think, I was drawn to this by something, and I have found this to be my passion. But there are things to learn about plants, and I give you that. But now in the world of the internet, when I went to horticulture school, we didn't have we couldn't Google things because the internet wasn't invented yet. But now you can Google, like you could get something like a geranium, and you could Google care of geranium. And I bet you could get that information. Of course, there's books, there's programming with your master gardeners, which are a program that I believe every state has through their state university. Again, every state, I believe, has a state university. And if you go to their School of Agriculture, in our state, it's Penn State, and the School of Agriculture has a gazillion references to all kinds of growing things. So yeah, there's resources out there. Obviously, you could buy books and magazines and read them. Just pay attention to the plant. And when you kill your first plant, it's because you overwatered it. That's all I have to say.
Good to know. Good to know. I'm sure that it happens to the best of us. I'm sure.
Oh, I kill them. I kill them too.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Sometimes we kill them with kindness. We say, "Oh yeah,
There you
with a little peek, I'll give you some extra water." And no.
Gotcha. So be diligent about just giving the plant enough water. Don't think that you're giving it extra care by giving it more water.
Right, and unless it's a bog plant, in which case. it wants to live in a bog. But basically, plants need light, a certain amount of light, and they're, you'll Google and find out how much light your geranium or your orchid or whatever needs. And they do need water. And, you know, they're sitting in soil. That's their anchor. That's where the roots are. So we have to be very kind to the roots and not rot them out with too much water.
Understood. Great information. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
The next question that I got in here is, what are ideal plants for small spaces, such as an apartment?
Yes, if we're talking about indoor plants, again, you could Google, but there are some very basic, easy guys that to start with, and I would applaud you in starting with them, okay? And they would be things like what we call spider plants. And that doesn't mean there's spiders in them. It just means like they look like a spider because they kind of fall over. There's another plant called a snake plant. Doesn't mean there's snakes in there. Just means it's these long, tall leaves. Kind of looks like snakes. There are what we call Pathos or Philodendrons. These are all basically tropical plants which make ideal house plants. They live in nature in the tropics, okay, because they would freeze to death if you left them outside. So they're great for indoors because you can leave them indoors all year round, okay? They can take a relatively low light level because guess where they live in the tropics? They live in a tropical rainforest under the canopy of the big trees. So they're not getting full sun necessarily, okay? So plants that are tough like that. There's another one called a Chinese evergreen, which is just a nice, I guess it's an aglaonema, really. Just all these wonderful, wonderful leafy plants. So if you go to your plant store or your Home Depot or your Lowe's or wherever you go, you want to go in and look for house plants. And never buy a plant that doesn't have a label. See how easy this is? A, you'll know the name of the plant, and B, often on the label it says, you know, low light or medium light, or how often to water it. So that way, that gives you a head start on its care right there. Another nice thing about houseplants is often after a while you can divide them. So you can get many more out of just the maybe 2 or 3 that you bought. Before you know it, you know, you can have 5 or 6. And then there's other plants you can buy that are actually like fig trees and things of that nature. And again, just buy them, put them in your apartment, love up on them. If you have a nice sunny windowsill, get some herbs. Herbs like rosemary and thyme and parsley, things that you could cook with. And then you can just snip them off with scissors, snip the top of them off, throw them in your, you know, rosemary chicken dish or whatever you're cooking. Other herbs like basil are annuals, and they're not going to live forever inside. But that's a nice thing if you have a little pot that you could put on your doorstep, and on a sunny place you can have some basil, because basil is great to throw into on pizza and that kind of thing. So again, you know, it's about being mindful when you go into a plant store, and really look and read the labels and see what are the appropriate house plants. And maybe there's a house plant book you could pick up just to review what you might want to look for. And then you're off and running. Don't overwater them.
Perfect. Thank you for that insight. I love it. I love the herb idea. That's an excellent point.
Herbs are great.
And my last question that I have is this a good activity to do with children?
Oh my Lord, yes. Yes. I just read a statistic somewhere that said something like, you know, they take surveys and that like 93% of children do not know where acorns come from.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, these would be the children that never go outside. Acorns come from oak trees. And why didn't they learn that? How do they not know that? It's because they don't go outside. Now, maybe they live in an area that's not safe to go outside, or there's not a place to play outside. And I understand that. But please, if you're a parent, a grandparent, a guardian, when you can, get your kids to go outside. They're bouncing off the walls inside, number one. Go outside. And guess what? They are just like little sponges that can appreciate collecting leaves and growing herbs and picking tomatoes. You know, they don't know where tomato comes from. It comes from a tomato bush. Grow a tomato, will you? Show your kids how delicious this is and where our food comes from. So yes, kids love doing projects, and it's wonderful to see this intergenerational programming, because we as adults, parents and grandparents, of course, know stuff and are delighted to share it with children. And what a great bonding it is with your kids. So even if it's just here in this area, we're going into the fall season and the leaves are turning colors. And even if it's just going out and collecting leaves and taping them to pieces of paper, and then maybe finding out what that leaf is from, an oak tree, a maple tree, trying to teach them what it is they're seeing in the world, and having them touch the bark of trees, touch the leaves, look at the berries and the nuts and the fruits, and explain to them what this is. Because, you know, this is their world. And if they're so disconnected from nature, then they will have no respect and understanding of nature. I contend if we can teach them nature, you know, you don't kill what you love. And right now, and we won't even get into global warming and all that kind of stuff, but there is climate change. There are changes being made, and we are just destroying so much of nature in so many ways. If those kids, you know, this is their world they're going to inherit. What is it going to look like without those trees, without those shrubs, without those animals? With, you know, we talk about animals going extinct. Well, guess what? Plants go extinct too. There's many varieties of plants that go extinct every year too. Why? Because they're losing habitat. Someone's cutting down the rainforest. Someone's cutting down the meadows and building parking lots. Is this what we want for our children? And will our children at some point turn around in the years to come and say, hey, older folks that were able to do something about this, why didn't you do something about this? Why am I breathing polluted air? Why don't I have any place to play? Why aren't there any fish to catch anymore? They're going to look at us and say, what up? What did you do? So let's share nature with our little, I call them kiddos, and see, you know, kids, you see the light in their eyes when they're discovering, because they're just little sponges taking this all in, and it's so delightful to deal with kiddos. So yes, please involve children with either your houseplants, your little gardening projects, your herbs, your tomato plants, or just your walk in the forest. Okay.
I love that. I love that. That's all great points. We definitely need to teach future generations to reconnect with nature. So very well stated, Peg. Thank you so much for that. This has been an amazing presentation, and I definitely want to make sure that everybody has a way to get in touch with you. They want to reach out, they want to connect with Heroic Gardens. So what is the best way for them to either contact you directly or contact the organization?
Yes, the organization is heroicgardens.org. Easy to Google that, and that'll come up. You'll see our website. You can certainly connect with our founder, whose name is Collie Turner, and she will certainly get back to you, answering questions and understanding how maybe you can hook up with if you live a long way away, across the country, how you can hook up with our virtual sessions and how any of that would work. Okay. So again, heroicgardens.org. We are delighted, honored to work with veterans, and we thank you for your service. God bless you.
Well, thank you, Peg, so much for sharing your time and wisdom with us. I think that this has been an amazing presentation. And so once again, for everybody that's joined us live, I thank you for your questions. Anybody that is watching this on replay, please don't be afraid to leave us a comment. If you have any questions, we will follow up with Heroic Gardens and make sure that all of your questions are answered. And again, this has been an amazing resource webinar, our Get Savvy, Growing Well in the Garden. Definitely encourage you to share this. Definitely encourage you to start taking a look into gardening. It sounds like an amazing activity for wellness and really just to give back to our environment. So I urge you guys to definitely check them out. It's a free program that they offer, and it's something that you definitely won't regret. So thank you again for joining us on our Savvy Resource webinar. My name is Adrienne, and until next time, we'll see you guys soon. Thanks so much and take care.